Alright, shalom. Shalom to those we make. Before I get started, and give all the praise and the glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachah Kodash. Which I give me the spirit and the strength to do this lesson. Alright, and also double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well and that teach well through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom, by rocking to the elect, beginning with 144,000, which are scattered abroad, and in every place, redeeming the time, ready to be saved. Shalom. Alright, I want to start off in the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, and verse 1, it says, I charge thee therefore before the Most High, and the Lord Yahweh Shai, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word. Alright? Preach the word. It says, be instant in season, out of season. Okay? Now, that's what I want to put emphasis on. You know, preach the word in season. And be instant in season and out of season. Alright, because, you know, no matter how we feel, no matter what we go through, no matter what the elements is like outside, you know, we have to do this work, man. We have to teach the gospel, alright, because it will be times where you go to the camps, man, go out to the streets, the highways and the byways, and it will be uncomfortable. You know, it will be uncomfortable. We're not here to tell you anything else. We're not here to sugarcoat. You know, it will be uncomfortable at times. You know, it'll be times it look too cold. Now, Apostle Hart said that, you know, he gave the decree that if it's below 20 degrees, we don't have to go out. You don't have to go out. But if it's bearable, yeah. And it'd be times where it'd be, you know, a little icy outside, man. But guess what? That's a part of our affliction. Alright? Like, hey, we gotta endure that, man. You know, like the scriptures say, endure hardness. You know? You gotta understand that it's a part of the straight gate. You know, it might be too hot. You know? It get too hot too, man. Hey, the wind get to blowing. You know, it get, you know, real, it can get, you know, frustrating, you know, at times, but hey, it's a part of our walk, man. You know, we still gotta do the work. Do what we gotta do, man. You know, so it said, because you got a lot of these camps, man, that a lot of guys, they claim to be a man of the Lord. They're not, they don't go to the streets when it's inconvenient. They only go when it's a beautiful day outside. All right. You see, only the true men of the Lord is gonna be out there and follow the commandment of Yahweh Shai. Alright? You know, even when it's raining, it could be raining outside. You still go. If it's that day to go out to the camp and it's raining, you think we gonna call it a council? No. We go out there to the camp, we go under a hedge somewhere. Our brothers might have an umbrella. You know, we still gotta do the work, man. Alright? Preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season. You see, he said, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort. Yeah, with his doctrine. All right. He said, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. You see that? So, the point is that, you know, we gotta be willing to do this work at inconvenient times. All right, that's what it look. That's what Yahweh Shemel Shai considers the most. Not, is when it's not convenient. Okay, that's what he looks at the most, man. When it's not convenient. Okay, he looks at when you're not in the spirit really, and you might be going through something. Your mind, you just not in the spirit, but you still putting up these lessons. You still going out to the camp. He looks at that, man. That's. It may not seem significant, but it is. He looks at that, man, and you can get rewarded for that. Because let's face it, man. It'd be a lot of times where brothers, even myself, not in the spirit. But they don't. Do that mean you take a break? No, you still gotta do the work. Hey, Yahweh Shai didn't feel like getting on that cross. Oh yeah, he didn't feel like getting on that. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to get out on that cross. Get on that cross. But guess what? He still did it. He still did it, man. And like the scriptures say, we looking unto Yahweh Shai. What's that? Hebrews 11 or 12. Looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith. What does that mean? We look up to him. He's our example that we should be following. All right? And also considering, and we should also consider that we got it much easier these days. It was harder back then, in the ancient days. It was harder for the prophets to do the work, man. So we gotta consider that too, man. Lord, he's fair. He's fair, man. At times it may not seem like it, but yeah, he is. But like I said, and I read that again, it says, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. That's right. Be instant in season, out of season. You see? So, we gotta be like, water. Because water it never stops flowing. That's why Yahweh Shai likened this word unto water. This information is truly unto water. What do he say? Out of thy belly shall flow rivers of living water. All right, meaning, this information is gonna be consistent. We're going to frequently be given this information. All right, because whether it's in the winter time or the summer, guess what? This water is going to flow. It never stops flowing. Never. I don't give a damn if it freezes at the top. Guess what? Beneath the water is still flowing. All right. Water never stops flowing. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get that in Zechariah. Go to the Old Testament. This is Zechariah chapter 14, verse 8. It says, "And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem." Whoo! Now, Jerusalem is a people for is a place. Is Jerusalem really talking about the prophets? It's talking about the prophets, man. All right, and what is that living waters? Well, it's this information that is being imparted. All right, from the prophets. All right, that's what the living waters is. Okay, this truth. It says, "And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea." Now check this out. It says, in summer, and in winter shall it be. You see that? Now, like I said, these other camps cannot relate to this because this is a prophecy that's being fulfilled now. All right. Not all camps fulfill this prophecy, but who does? You guessed it. Beginning with Great Millstone. All right. Beginning with the head apostles on down. All right, I'm read that again. It says, "And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and in winter shall it be." You see that? There you go. You see? So this word is supposed to be going out all year round, man. That should not be a cease. That's why the scripture said, what's the Jeremiah 51? What is it? No, it's not the one. That may not be the one I'm thinking about. Maybe it'll come back to me. But you see, we are, and it's like, and we only go out one day of the week. You see, we only go out one day a week to the highways and hedges, man. Well, some camps go out more than one day, more than once a week. But you got the apostles. They go out only one day every week, man, because brothers got to work. So that's not burdensome at all, man. You can't handle one day. You can't freeze your ass off for one day for the Lord, man. You can't sweat your ass off one day for the Lord. But you see, they'll go out and do that for Esau, though. They'll sweat and labor for Esau, though, for some worthless cash, man. But when it comes to doing this work, man, just slack. And that's why a lot of these, that's why they finna die. Right? What is that? What the scripture say? Those that are settled on their lees, woe unto them that are settled on their lees. You know, you ain't taking this thing serious, man. Hey, we go out to the highways and the hedges no matter what because that shows true fear. The true fear of Yahweh Shema Shai. A lot of these camps, they don't truly fear Yahweh Shema Shai, man. All right, that's why they don't. That's why they're not out there like that. You know. Let me get this scripture right here. The book of Psalms. I didn't want to make this long at all, you know, just something that was on my spirit. Where is it? This is Psalm chapter 106, verse 3. It says, blessed are they that keep judgment. Right? Blessed are they that keep judgment. And he that doeth righteousness at all times. There you go. You see that? I'll read that again. Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times. You see? Like, hey, no matter what season it is. You see? And that's beautiful, man. It said, blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times. That's right. So yeah, man, you know, be instant in season and out of season. Lord, when that was edifying. Until next time, Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shmekakadash Bragatham. Wa Shalom.